Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm truly honored to present my presentation to such a distinguished audience. Of course, that is usually coupled with some kind of concern and excitement, but I will do my best to cope it. I would like to tell you about dispute cases reaching the Board of Appeals of the Patent Office of Latvia and the Boards of Appeal of the Industrial Property. The Latvian law does not provide invalidity in proceedings as it has been stipulated regarding the RCR. And we do not have such invalidation proceedings or invalidity proceedings. But starting from the first wording of the patent law of Latvia and Patent Office of Latvia, we have the dispute or objection proceedings from the law adopted in 1993 and the amendments made into a new law adopted in 2004. And by July 2016, those disputes or objections or objection proceedings were considered by the Board of Appeal of the Patent Office of Latvia, and starting from that time, the Board of Appeals of the Industrial Property has taken over that function. We have had two laws, as the law of 1993 was based very much on the protection procedures, how patents were protected in the former USSR, and registration of design was updated and harmonized to the member states of the European Union. And regarding the registered community design, we have an opportunity to provide or to submit objections in both wordings of the law dated 1993 and 2004 that complied before to the deadlines and terms. Whereas novelty, disclosure, informed user, and so on, other terms which are already stipulated in the law of 2004. Although I must admit that for the last 25 years we haven't had many disputes or objections. We have 22 cases in total. We have had 4 appeals on convention priority was not provided, and still that was one and the same case reviewed. We have had 9 objections against registration of design in 9 cases, and design can be involved when objection is submitted regarding the registration filing of trademark, which can be opposed and appealed based on the design. And we have had 9 cases in total. We have had 9 objections or disputes against registration or filing of design due to the lack of novelty or individual character, and we have had 9 objections or submissions against registration or filing of trademarks based on previous design. In 4 cases, last year I shared the updates in the area of designs and trademarks, but I would like to emphasize those interesting aspects. 2 other instances, including General Court of Latvia, would be very interesting. We have had 1 appeal regarding previous design and opposed design. Article 4 of the Paris Convention stipulates that when the first application is submitted in a party, in a country being a party of the convention, they have the right, they are entitled to apply for filing the same design in other member state of the Paris Convention in 6 months' time, when that previous application is dominating. So that means that holder of design has 6 months to consider in which other member state the protection could be sought as well. We have had quite an old case. The dispute arose due to the fact that, according to the law on protection of design of the Republic of Latvia, of that wording, both application must be submitted and pictures or drawings of design should have been submitted, and design description was mandatory as well, because of course, according to the previous wording of the law of 1993, such requests existed, statutory requirement existed when design description should have been presented. But the applicant argumented the previous design from Germany, which was filed already, but one of the mandatory parts was missing in order for the filing date to be defined. Resulting from that, the Patent Office of Latvia did not define that date, and later date when the description was submitted, and more than 6 months passed before, and the applicant lost his or her priority. Therefore, appeal was submitted, but the Board of Appeal found and stated that, according to the Paris Convention, national application should have been shaped and filled out correctly if we would have considered the case according to the current wording and current requests of the law on protection of design, when such description should not be submitted, for instance, or images would not be provided by fax, but no number of applicants would be indicated, then the application number and date were mentioned, and if applicant's name was not would not have been presented in 6 months' time, we would also consider and find that the national application was not provided correctly and properly, therefore the later date would be chosen. Regarding applications, one of the cases, I choose 8 plus 2 objections on trademarks in order to really illustrate the sectors or areas where disputes could arise in Latvia, thus characterizing the national economy and manufacturing sector of Latvia. We have no disputes and appeals on automotive industry and cars in particular. We are disputing products manufactured and being more characteristic of Latvia. Therefore, designs are protected in those specific areas more. For instance, trimaran, these are yachts used for moving on sea, and the dispute arose between the designer and his employer, because previous design, opposed design, was submitted by designer himself, and later on, applicant switched over to the employer himself. Dispute on the right of the protection of design is not subject to the Board of Appeal, thus we could consider only whether significant differences between designs existed. And I will switch over to the decision. And so images would be prevalent, and therefore I would switch between the slide with the text and the images. So the appearance of a micro-trimaran opposed and concerned include only opposed trimaran, but if both basic elements are considered, their shapes and peculiarities of configuration and structure, as well as appearance in general, the Board of Appeals must consider and conclude that appearance of later trimaran includes the opposed appearance of trimaran because basic elements, shapes and peculiarities of configuration, only very trivial details differed. And only here we have some grid, which is different. I'm not sure about the exact name, but that is the only thing, the only detail that changed, that differed in those both designs. As previous, the technical drawing did not depict that grid, and that grid appeared in the picture or image of that trimaran of later date. Therefore, no significant differences existed, and later design was invalidated as patent was invalidated. The next dispute or objection regarded the uniform sweaters. Most probably, they were meant for the bodies where such uniforms and uniform sweaters were provided, for instance, police, military, and so on. But I think that a dispute actually arose between two employers or two producers of those sweaters, delivering those sweaters to two different interior bodies. The Board of Appeal is not entitled to consider. We considered the objections submitted by the previous design against the employee or manufacturer of later design, with the reference that, for instance, manufacturer Riga Fashion Knitting Company was producing such sweaters 2 decades ago, but later on that was updated and other manufacturers took over. I think that novelty was lacking in both cases, but based on the objection, based on the previous and later design, was invalidated in this specific case. And here, designs are similar. Of course, shape of a sweater can be different, but we can see that they have quite round knitted collar, and so simple common shape of a sweater as it should be. The elements coincided that both sweaters carried identical elements. They had logos on both sleeves, and they had pockets on the shoulders as well as lapels. And of course, emblem itself was not protected because it was emblem of the corresponding service or the structure of interior. Of course, like the emblem of National Guard was not protected by the design. But if we consider both sweaters, they both had emblems and logos. They had similar rectangular materials or fabrics sewn on. both for the previous and for the opposed. And impression left by the appearance of both sweaters and of both designs was the same. Of course, the shoulder. So there were two pictures or two images, you can see or not, but there should be emblem, fabric covering the elbow part so that way would last longer. And here they have more oval fabric sewn onto the shoulder area and hand or arm area. So the opposed design was invalidated according to the decision of the Board of Appeals.
Strīds par miskastēm.
Then the next dispute was about waste bins, about waste containers. Something similar has been also in court, but initially this dispute was in the Board of Appeal because the rights holder of this prior design filed a case against this later. The first question which Board of Appeal was examining was regarding what is the outer experience of this contested design, because this contestant, the holder of this contestant said that in this picture it is hard to understand the opposite side of the waste bin. Of course, the picture is not very good, and of course it is a mistake of the specialist of the Board of Patent Office, because here it looks like the third vertical element. Could be that it is not cylindrical, this bin, but it is like a triangular. And also the holder of this contested design, he says it is not clear what this design is referred to, because there are no other pictures. But first of all, the Board of Appeal had no competence to consider whether this picture, this insufficient picture, so we cannot see the all around this picture, and so it is question whether to delete or not to delete or invalidate. This is a question of court. So Board of Appeal decided that this design is just seen from one view. It is no grounds to doubt that it is cylindrical, because it can be seen from the shadows, and it is clear that it is cylindrical, and this is some rim of the door, but not some third vertical element which could make this into a triangle. So even if the picture has shortcomings because it is some additional objects, it is not sufficient grounds to say that this design shape cannot be understood clearly. And of course, also members of Board of Appeal are influenced by what they see in the street, and these bins where in Riga's cities and parks, everywhere where we pass, we all see. Of course, we cannot replace what we see in the parks and the picture, but it is doubtful that this designer would have made this opposite side not cylindrical, because this one which we see is cylindrical by its shape. And also the shade shows that it is cylindrical, and it is not a basis to think that it is the same as this visible part. Because to decide whether to uphold or reject the opposition, so it should be clear what this design looks like. And the next case, which Board of Appeal was deciding, is whether there is enough differences according to the law of 1993, when we didn't have novelty and individual essence and informed the user. So we had to understand where there are significant differences, and Board of Appeal decided that design are rather similar by their outer shape and location of elements, because both they are cylindrical containers with these surfaces. Or here it is, we see a cone, and it is a round lid for cigarette extinguishing, and so, and also, and both the side surface is open. So these parts are open, and the main difference is that for this one it is perforation, and here perforation is in 4 lines or parts. So here it is one non-perforated line, but here it is not. But the Board of Appeal perceived this as and stated that the lack of these 4 not perforated lines is not essential difference for both designs, and thus this it is just a variation or modification of the first design. So the holder of this of applications indicated that this bin can be open. So it is technical function to be open. This cannot be open in both parts, so to take this bag out. But here it can be open, but Board of Appeal mentioned that this is just technical peculiarity, the technical feature, which is not related to appearance, so it is no sense. So this is can be open, that cannot be open, but this doesn't refer to outer appearance, and so the opposition was upheld. So in the next one, dispute. This is after 2004, according to the law of 2004, law on design. An objection can be submitted by the holder of trademark on the basis of the trademark belonging to the person, so registered or widely known, with condition that the holder of a trademark has the right to prohibit use of this contested design. So first of all, it should be the trademark should be belonging or widely known, and then there should be norm that assigns to the right holder of the trademark to use this design. This is according to the law on trademarks and geographic origins. This Article 4, where the rights are defined to the rights holder of the trademark. So what is allowed and what is which rights are belonging to the holder of the trademark. So the dispute was about towels. I would like to say that this also the applicant at the very beginning was not. He was dishonest, so to say. These towels were brought in through customs into Latvia, and then they brought these towels into Latvia, but afterwards stated that they are produced here. And then the question is whether this applicant is a right designer. This is not our competence, but what was done here. And so the owner of Playboy trademarks, they just submitted objection. Opposition against use of this trademark, and this is quite a quick process when there are these all mandatory all documents which are needed in the applicant. So it was a trademark widely known, but six of them were there. And so what we see here is that it is we see it is a picture of hair, and it is like in a mirror view. But if we turn it vice versa, then it is so because for towel we see that it can be seen from both sides. Here, so he can be just I think it is tie for this. It is the slight difference. And also a little bit slightly different shirt. So here the ears are differently shaped. But anyway, this if we take this Article 4 of the law on geographical origins, this actually is a breach of all these conditions. So Playboy hair, so they have the right to prohibit use of this type of hair on any of these products. Taking into account that they have the right to prohibit, they have prior the trademark, it is possibility to mix them. So this registered trademark was considered invalid, and this objection was upheld. Yes, that was about the hair. So. And the next is rather complicated dispute when I see these pictures. And for a person who daily is not mowing grass, so actually, so you do not know what to do now, because to understand what's functional here, so which are technical functions and where we could see something what can be added by designers, that's quite difficult. But at the same time, this again was a dispute between one company which not really produces but imports these grass mowers, but or in cooperation with some foreign company just improves. And here it is something even more, a little bit more improved. But in the Board of Appeal, we had the feeling that the technical features were improved because really, so two holders, so handles. This is not the small one. This is which you use to mow something in water, and it is something larger. So, and you can even cut some reeds, so something like bigger than grass. So you have to push it. This is first. So handles should be rigid. So two wheels, so this mowing part, and here in the middle it is electric motor. And then this part which combines this electric motor with this cutting part. And so in both pictures, so here from you see that these two parts are different. And that was on, so here Board of Appeal stated that here in this device, so this design has individual character compared to this previous one or prior one. And to tell the truth, here we could speak also about this obligation to prove, to have evidence, because here the owner of this design had just juxtaposed this one registration. He had not looked for any other previous designs, previous cheese mowers, and it could be also something even more similar to this. But he had just this one design, and Board of Appeal is not looking for other design, prior designs, just so that maybe something is more similar to this. Board of Appeal looked at these mowers as such, and how these two differ from everything what we have on the market. This was about this duty to prove, about this have evidences, and in this here I would like also about copyright, some words about copyright, because objections against registration of design can also be based on copyright. First of all, the object can be protected by copyright and also design law. And design can be stated invalid if their work is used which is protected by copyright. And I will come back to the pictures, the same pictures again, since this applicant also had mentioned this norm that in this late design they have used his copyright, then Board of Appeal had to evaluate also this aspect.
As far as the Board of Appeals could grasp from the law on copyright, if the later design would copy that object of copyright of the work itself or some parts thereof, based on the previous design, grass mover, that is improved version, because as far as we discussed, that referred to protection of invention, that modernization, upgrade cannot be considered an infringement because there are some opportunities or options for creating a high level or top level of modernization or updating of an invention of a patent protection, then the argument of the applicant of objection to copyright was not relevant. The next case, the packaging. Actually, they look very identical, but the only difference is Lotte in one case and no Lotte in other case. That was objection and opposition on the opposed was a Russian patent, but the case that the problem was of that when Latvian design was applied for registration, that Russian patent was not published yet. It was not disclosed. It was not known to the public and was not made available in the normal due course of development. And as you know, the bodies where patents are applied and filed. The patent system in Russian Federation exists as for trademarks and designs. And the body or office of the industrial design are kept secret and are not published by the date of their filing, and that design was not disclosed, and no previous disclosures of that design appeared and occurred. Thus, in Latvia, we have statutory clause that design can be invalidated if it is filed earlier than the Latvian one and disclosed later. That was filed more at an earlier date, but we were lacking that. Application was submitted in the Russian Federation, but still the provision included file it internationally and applied to Latvia as well, or as community design with later disclosure, but that statutory request or requirement did not apply to Russian Federation, and thus the objection was rejected, irrespective of the fact that the bin we have seen before, although we previously invalidated that, did not exclude an opportunity to oppose it to a later design as well as distracting the novelty of a later design, so that some handle you can see on the left side of the post design, it was disclosed earlier, irrespective of the fact that it was excluded from the registry, but it was disclosed, and that was our motivation or argument for applicant to submit an objection to a later design to be filed. We had another case. 6 community designs registered already and opposed trademark. The holder of trademark submitted it to the court, but it was rejected. And the next case, we have different case by the same applicant. We do not have a graphic design, but opposed trademark and the picture or image on the packaging itself. And we questioned whether based on the protected shape, whether the shape entitles its holder to prevent any similar profile of the packaging. And the Board of Appeals considered that design protection did not grant so wide opportunities for the holder because it did not entitle the holder of protected design to any profile of such can in any other product with any other image. Thank you very much for your attention. Perhaps you might have any questions to me. Thank you. So thank you for such good insight into Latvian practice designs dispute cases. I understand that just before lunch questions are cut short, but we have time at least for 2. Welcome.
Thank you very much for this, for me, very interesting presentation. I have a question regarding the towel, the Playboy trademark. The understanding is that you have to make a trademark comparison, no? If you...
Yes.
Did you take into account that the trademark was reputed?
Yes,
First question.
of course.
And what did you do with regard to the comparison of the goods and services? This is a point we struggle very much with when we do the comparison between a trademark and a design.
Mm-hmm. In this case, we took into account that the trademark was registered for towels and for textiles. It was registered. It is not maybe well known for towels and for textiles. It is well known for other things, but it was registered also for towels and textiles, and we made the comparison actually also for goods and in this case for goods. Yeah, because it is necessary. We take into account the trademark law.
So what did you do with the reputation then? Because as you said, the reputation is not for towels, so you assumed an average distinctiveness, or?
We took into account, our law says that for marks with reputation, we call it well-known marks. Well-known marks are reputed also, well-known marks can be invoked not only against identical or similar goods, but also not similar goods. This was the case in this
case. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay.
Would have come to the same result, but we struggle a lot with what to do with the reputation. The provision is different. We have on the trademark basis, if they do not refer to reputed mark, and very often they do not, then it gets complicated, and we have problems in discussing the basis of comparison, because sometimes the argument is that we have to look at the towel in its entirety, and the towel in its entirety obviously looks different, and the other approach is to say use of the trademark is only use of the bunny in the towel. And then the case is very clear, but the court judgments on these constellations go in different ways. I think that the right approach is this one, to take the trademark and only compare the trademark, and then the result is clear. And we struggle a lot when the design is not for a product. Like here you had towels, you're fortunate. What if it's for ornamentation? And how you make the comparison of goods and services if you have a design registered for ornamentation, and you have specific goods and services on the trademark. And the one approach is to say ornamentation covers everything, which is what we do at the boards, but we have been heavily criticized because this is giving too broad a protection to the trademark. The trademark being limited to goods and then being able to be enforced against a design for a non-specific product. This is a question still not solved by us.
We haven't had cases with ornamentation. We were lucky in this case. We had the towels also for trademark, and those bunnies are not only this one, but here also there are quite many bunnies, and also here, and it was enough bunnies to cancel the design registration.